All right, so get ready because we're about to take a deep dive into some really thought-provoking Islamic concepts.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to be exploring this idea that the Quran itself, as interpreted by Tafseer Hube Ali, alayhi salam,
Right.
actually testifies to the importance of Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and even warns against rejecting his wilayah.
Wow.
So you're looking to get, like, a deeper understanding of this concept, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, we'll be exploring things like how the Quran acts as a witness,
Okay.
the idea of it, like, voicing a complaint on the Day of Judgment,
Hmm.
and then also how Imam Ali, alayhi salam, and the Quran are seen as, like, inseparable
Oh,
in this tafsir.
so one of the things that is fascinating about this tafsir
Yeah.
is how it's using the Quran itself to shed light on Imam Ali's salam unique position.
Uh-huh.
So it goes beyond just looking at historical events or sayings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Right.
It's about the Quran itself pointing toward Imam Ali alayhi salam.
So it's kind of like saying that the Quran has a voice.
Yes.
Like it has its own perspective.
Exactly.
Almost like a living entity in a way.
That's a great way to put it.
So I'm intrigued. How does the tafsir present that idea?
Well, one of the ways it does this is through this concept of the Quran as a witness.
Mm-hmm.
And it draws on certain verses and hadiths to support this idea.
Right.
So, for instance, there is this one hadith where Allah, Azza wa Jalla, tells Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the opening verses of the Quran,
Okay.
including Surah Fatiha,
Right.
are from the treasures of the throne,
Mm.
which of course emphasizes their significance.
So we're starting right at the beginning of the Quran
Exactly.
with Surah Fatiha, which already has so much significance. So
Yeah.
how does the tafsir, like, build on that?
Well, it actually connects this hadith to another one.
Okay.
In this second hadith,
Yeah.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam explains that the opening verses, specifically the phrase "all praise is for Allah, the Lord of the worlds,"
Okay.
that's verse 1.2,
Right, right.
are actually the call of the people of paradise as they are expressing their gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jalla.
Oh, I see. Okay. So they're special because they come from the treasures of the throne.
Yes.
But they also represent the joyous praise of, like, those in paradise.
Exactly.
But where does Imam Ali, alayhi salam, fit into all of this?
That's where the deeper interpretation comes in.
Okay.
By emphasizing the importance of these verses, the tafsir is actually setting the stage for us to understand their connection to Imam Ali alayhi salam.
I see.
It's suggesting that to truly grasp the Quran's message,
Yeah.
you need to understand the deeper meaning of these verses and their relationship to Imam Ali alayhi salam and the concept of wilayah.
So the tafsir is making, like, a strong statement right from the very start.
Yes.
It suggests that the Quran itself
Right.
points toward the importance of Imam Ali, alayhi salam,
Yes.
from its very first verses.
From the very beginning.
Yeah.
And it goes even further than that.
Okay.
It doesn't just hint at his significance.
Yeah.
It warns of the consequences of rejecting him. This brings us to the concept of the Quran's complaint on the Day of Judgment.
Wow, that's a huge image.
It
The idea of the Quran complaining, that's powerful.
really is a powerful image.
Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So the tafsir cites a hadith narrated by Imam al-Askari, alayhi salam,
Okay.
and he says, on the Day of Judgment, a caller will call out, "Where are those who abandon the Quran?" And the Quran, with its pages unrolled, will stand up and say, "My Lord, my people abandoned me."
Wow.
And a caller will call out, "Where are those who abandoned the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salam, after his prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam?" And Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salam, with his sword unsheathed, will stand up and say, "My Lord, my people abandoned me."
So just imagine the Quran will actually speak out against those who denied Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Well-
Wow, that's powerful.
Yes,
It goes beyond just a simple disagreement or a historical debate.
absolutely.
It's about being held accountable by the Quran itself.
Yes, exactly.
What other evidence does the tafsir present to support this idea of the Quran being inherently linked to Imam Ali alayhi salam?
Well, there's a section where it discusses how Imam Ali, alayhi salam, was the first to compile the Quran.
Yeah.
Shortly after Prophet Muhammad's sallallahu alaihi wasallam death.
That's a historical fact a lot of people may not know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that.
But how does the tafsir connect this to, like, the idea we're discussing?
It emphasizes the significance of this act.
Mm-hmm.
It highlights that Imam Ali alayhi salam wasn't just the first to compile it,
Right.
but also the one who possessed the deepest understanding of its meaning and application.
Yeah.
He was, after all, alongside Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam during that entire period of revelation.
So this suggests that Imam Ali's alayhi salam compilation wasn't just some mechanical task.
Mhm.
It was a real demonstration of his profound connection to like the divine word.
Exactly, precisely.
Wow.
So the Tafsir also shares this anecdote about Tala inquiring about this compiled Quran after it was presented to Abu Bakr.
Mm-hmm.
So this question underscores the historical context
Yeah.
and the potential suppression of Imam Ali's alayhi salam version.
Oh, wow.
And then the Tafsir goes on to say that loving Ali alayhi salam is actually a sign of truly understanding the Quran.
Mm.
And it connects this back to the theme of the Quran as a guide to truth and justice,
Right.
implying that recognizing Imam Ali's alayhi salam rightful place
Yeah.
is part of that path to truth.
So we're seeing like a multi-layered argument here.
Yes.
The Quran is a witness.
Right.
It will complain on the day of judgment. And it's inherently linked to Imam Ali, alayhi salam,
Yes.
in a way that makes loving him a sign of understanding its message.
Exactly.
But there's one more point I think we need to explore, which is this idea that denying Imam Ali, alayhi salam, is a transgression against the Quran itself.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Of course, the Tafsir goes so far as to say that rejecting Imam Ali's alayhi salam wilayah is not just a matter of disagreeing with his leadership, but it's a form of kufr, of disbelief.
Wow.
And not just against him,
Yeah.
but against the message of the Quran itself.
That's a strong statement. What evidence does the Tafsir use to support that?
Well, it cites a verse.
Okay.
And whatsoever the messenger gives you, take it. And whatsoever he forbids, abstain from it. And fear God. Verily, God is severe in retribution.
Okay.
That's 59.7.
Okay.
And the Tafsir interprets this verse in the context of accepting the Prophet's sallallahu alaihi wasallam pronouncements about Imam Ali alayhi salam, including those concerning his wilayah.
So because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam designated Imam Ali alayhi salam as a successor, the argument is that rejecting that designation is violating this verse's command to accept what the messenger gives.
That's right.
Okay.
But it's not just about accepting Imam Ali alayhi salam. The Tafsir also brings in another hadith to illustrate this concept of wilayah.
Okay.
So Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam said, the similitude of the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam is like the similitude of the prayer. Whoever performs it properly is rewarded. And whoever does not perform it is punished.
So this clarifies that acknowledging and following the wilayah is a crucial part of fulfilling one's religious obligations.
Exactly.
It sounds like the Tafsir is presenting a really comprehensive view of how crucial accepting Imam Ali's alayhi salam wilayah is within Islam.
Absolutely. It's really easy to get lost in these abstract ideas when we talk about wilayah or like the Quran as a witness. But if we can connect this to like the bigger picture, we can see why the Tafsir stresses these points so strongly.
So how does this idea of the Quran being linked to Imam Ali alayhi salam actually play out in our everyday lives?
I think that's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Tafsir really seems to be pushing us to think about how our understanding of the Quran affects what we do.
Right.
Especially when it comes to justice and leadership. If we truly believe the Quran is a witness to truth and justice, and that it's pointing towards Imam Ali alayhi salam as a guide, then that has implications for how we live and interact with the world.
So it's not just understanding in our heads,
but
about living out those principles of the Quran as Imam Ali alayhi salam exemplified them.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive is already giving me so much to think about.
Oh, good.
It's almost like I'm seeing the Quran with fresh eyes, noticing these connections between the text and Imam Ali's alayhi salam life in like a new way.
That's the power of a good tafsir, right?
Yeah.
It can open up all these new avenues of understanding and lead us to appreciate the Quran's message more deeply.
As we're talking, I keep thinking about that part in the tafsir where it talks about the story of Adam, alayhi salam.
Oh, yeah.
It explains how Allah, azza wa jalla, taught Adam, alayhi salam, the names of all things.
Right.
And the tafsir seems to use this story to show that real knowledge and understanding come from Allah Azza wa Jalla.
That's a great point.
Right.
The tafsir often uses these stories from the Quran to explain complex ideas.
Yeah.
And the story of Adam, alayhi salam, is a really powerful one.
Yeah.
It reminds us that our knowledge is limited.
Right.
And that true understanding comes from recognizing the source of all knowledge.
And it ties back to what we've been talking about because it suggests that seeking knowledge,
Yes.
particularly knowledge about the Quran and its interpretation, is such a crucial part of our faith.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just recite the words of the Quran.
Yeah.
We need to strive to understand its meaning and apply its teachings to our lives.
And part of that understanding, according to the Tafseer,
Yes.
involves recognizing the role of the Ahlul-Bayt,
Right.
especially Imam Ali, alayhi salam, as guides to that understanding.
Exactly. It's about seeking knowledge from those who are most qualified to transmit it. Just as the angels acknowledged Adam's alayhi salam knowledge of the names,
Right.
we are encouraged to seek guidance from those who have inherited Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wisdom and understanding.
There's also that interesting part in the Tafseer where it talks about the creation of Adam, alayhi salam.
Oh, yeah.
And it explains how Allah Azza wa Jalla showed the angels the inhabitants of the earth, including the jinn and humans.
That passage is so intriguing.
Yeah.
It really highlights like the vastness of creation and the diversity of beings that exist.
Yeah.
It sets the stage for understanding the purpose of human creation and our role as stewards of the earth.
And the Tafseer seems to connect that to the concept of Wilayah. It suggests that Imam Ali, alayhi salam, as the rightful successor of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam,
Right.
carries that same responsibility of guiding humanity towards its intended purpose.
It's a really deep idea.
Yeah.
Just as Adam, alayhi salam, was given the knowledge and authority to name and understand creation, Imam Ali, alayhi salam, is seen as inheriting that role of guiding humanity towards a just and righteous path.
It's almost like a cosmic chain of responsibility.
Yeah.
From Allah Azza wa Jalla to Adam alayhi salam to the prophets,
Right.
then to Imam Ali alayhi salam and the imams who came after him.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Right.
The Tafsir reminds us that we're part of like a larger story
Yeah.
and that our choices have consequences not just for ourselves,
Right.
but for the world around us.
So this brings up an important question.
Yeah.
If the Quran is a witness, like the Tafsir says, and it's going to complain on the day of judgment,
Right.
what are we doing to make sure we're on the right side of that complaint? What steps can we take to like deepen our understanding and make sure our actions line up with the Quran's message?
I think that's a question each of us needs to wrestle with.
Yeah.
The Tafsir does offer some guidance. It stresses the importance of seeking knowledge,
Right.
reflecting on the Quran's teachings,
Yeah.
and emulating the example of the Ahlul-Bayt, particularly Imam Ali alayhi salam.
There's also that powerful verse where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "O you who believe, fear Allah and be with those who are truthful." That's 9.119.
Right.
And it's a reminder that faith is more than words.
Yeah.
It's about our actions matching our beliefs.
Absolutely. And the Tafsir reminds us that truthfulness includes not just our words and actions, but also our beliefs.
Right.
It suggests that recognizing the truth of Imam Ali's alayhi salam Wilayah is part of being truthful in the deepest sense.
It's challenging, but it's also incredibly inspiring.
It is.
Makes me want to go back to the Quran, go back to the Tafsir.
Yeah.
And to the life of Imam Ali, alayhi salam.
Right.
Keep searching for those deeper layers of meaning.
Yeah.
And find ways to embody those truths in my own life.
I think that's the beauty of the Quran.
Yeah.
It's a source of endless wisdom and guidance. And every time we return to it, we discover new insights.
The Tafsir also points out that the Quran itself went through revisions and changes over time.
Oh, that's right.
It mentions how Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed different verses and rulings at different times based on the needs of the people and the circumstances they were facing.
So that's an important point.
Yeah.
The Tafsir is emphasizing the dynamic nature of Quranic revelation, and it highlights the need for flexibility in our understanding and application of its teachings.
It reminds us that the Quran wasn't revealed as just like a fixed set of rules,
Right.
but as a living guidance that adapts to the changing realities of human existence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it suggests that we need to approach the Quran with an open mind. And a willingness to adapt our understanding as we grow and learn.
Right.
Just as the people in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had to adjust their practices based on new revelations. We too need to be open to revisiting our understanding in light of new knowledge and insights.
That can be a challenging process, though, right?
It can be.
Especially when we're dealing with these deeply held beliefs.
It certainly can be.
But the Tafseer encourages us to see this as an opportunity for growth.
Yes.
And deepening our connection to the Quran.
Absolutely.
Right?
It reminds us that true knowledge is a journey, not a destination.
And I'm reminded of that verse where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "And those who strive for us, we will surely guide them to our ways. And indeed, Allah is with the doers of good."
Yes.
That's 29.69.
Beautiful verse.
It's like we're being invited to actively participate in the process of understanding. Keep striving and seeking, knowing that Allah Azza wa Jalla will guide us along the way.
Beautifully put.
And the Tafseer suggests that part of that striving involves recognizing the importance of seeking guidance from those who are most knowledgeable.
Yes.
Like the Ahlul-Bayt.
Exactly.
You know, one of the things that really stood out to me in the Tafseer was the way it emphasizes the importance of action.
Yes.
It's not enough to just have knowledge.
Right.
We need to act on that knowledge and strive to live righteous lives.
That's a core message of the Quran, isn't it? It's not just a book to be read and admired.
Right.
It's a guide for living a life that is pleasing to Allah. That's so.
And the Tafseer connected this back to Imam Ali, alayhi salam, by highlighting his unwavering commitment to justice.
Yes.
And his willingness to act on his beliefs, even when it meant facing opposition and hardship.
Exactly. He's presented as the embodiment of the Quran's message in action.
Yeah.
He wasn't just a scholar or a preacher.
Yeah.
He was a leader who fought for justice, defended the oppressed, and lived a life of piety and service.
It's inspiring to think about, but also a little daunting.
It is.
Makes me wonder if I'm living up to that standard, if I'm truly embodying those values that the Quran and Imam Ali alayhi salam represent.
That's a question each of us has to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
But the Tafseer reminds us that we're all on a journey and that striving for improvement is what matters most.
Yeah.
It encourages us to take small steps,
Yeah.
make conscious choices that align with our beliefs, and trust that Allah Azza wa Jalla will guide us towards the right path.
I love the way the Tafseer uses the story of the calf in Surah Baqarah to make a point about the importance of Wilayah.
Right.
It's not a story you typically associate with that concept.
Right. That's what makes the Tafseer so insightful.
Yeah.
It draws these connections between seemingly unrelated passages and reveals these deeper layers of meaning.
Right.
So in the case of the calf story,
Yeah.
the Tafseer uses a hadith to illustrate the idea that what led the people astray wasn't just the idol worship itself.
Right.
But their complacency regarding the salawat on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and their rejection of Imam Ali's alayhi salam wilayah.
So it's suggesting that even seemingly minor actions, like neglecting to send salawat, can have huge consequences.
Yes.
If they stem from a lack of recognition of the true guides appointed by Allah Azza wa Jalla.
That's right. It's a powerful reminder that our actions are often a reflection of our beliefs.
Yeah.
If we truly believe in the importance of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Ahlul-Bayt, our actions will reflect that belief.
I'm also struck by how the Tafseer addresses the issue of kufr.
Okay.
It doesn't just define it as just like a simple rejection of Allah, Azza wa Jalla, but it delves into these different forms of kufr, including the kufr of bounties, which is a concept I hadn't really thought about before.
The Tafseer emphasizes the subtle ways in which we can fall into kufr. Even if we profess belief in Allah, Azza wa Jalla, it reminds us that true faith involves not only acknowledging Allah's Azza wa Jalla existence, but also expressing gratitude for his blessings and using those blessings in ways that are pleasing to him.
It's almost like a call to mindfulness.
It is.
To be aware of the ways in which we might be taking Allah's Azza wa Jalla blessings for granted, or using them for purposes that go against his will.
It's about cultivating an attitude of thankfulness. And recognizing that everything we have comes from Allah, Azza wa Jalla.
And it connects back to the concept of Wilayah because the Tafseer suggests that recognizing the Ahlul-Bayt
Yes.
and following their guidance is a way of demonstrating our gratitude
Right.
and using Allah's Azza wa Jalla blessings wisely.
Absolutely.
So it's all interconnected.
It is.
Our understanding of the Quran,
Yeah.
our recognition of Wilayah, our actions,
Right.
our gratitude for Allah's Azza wa Jalla blessing.
It all ties together.
It's all part of a tapestry of faith
It is.
that weaves together to form our relationship with Allah Azza wa Jalla.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Right.
The Tafseer reminds us that this tapestry is constantly being woven
Yeah.
and that we have the opportunity to choose the threads that we contribute.
It's both empowering and humbling.
It is.
We have the agency to shape our own faith,
Mm.
but we also need to recognize that we're not doing it alone.
Right.
We have guidance from the Quran,
Yes.
from the Ahlul-Bayt,
Uh-huh.
and ultimately from Allah Azza wa Jalla himself.
That's right. It's a reminder to approach our faith with humility
Yeah.
and a willingness to learn and grow.
You know, as we've been discussing all these complex concepts, I've been thinking about that section in the Tafsir where it talks about the importance of seeking knowledge from reliable sources.
Right.
It warns against blindly following anyone,
Yeah.
even religious scholars.
Mm.
Encourages us to critically evaluate the information we're presented with.
That's a crucial point.
Right?
Especially in today's world where information is so readily available.
Yeah.
The Tafsir reminds us that not all sources are created equal.
Right.
And that we need to be discerning in our pursuit of knowledge.
It also seems to caution against the dangers of taqlid, of blindly following tradition or the opinions of others,
Right.
without truly understanding the reasoning behind those opinions.
Exactly. It encourages us to engage with our faith intellectually.
Right.
And to seek a deeper understanding of its principles.
Right.
It's not about simply accepting what we're told,
Yeah.
but about asking questions, seeking evidence,
Yeah.
and arriving at our own informed conclusions.
I love the way the Tafsir tackles the issue of doubt.
Mm.
It acknowledges that doubt is a natural part of the human experience.
It is.
And that even great figures like Ibrahim, alayhi salam,
Yeah.
experienced moments of doubt.
That's such an important message.
Right.
It's reassuring to know that even prophets wrestled with questions and doubts,
Yeah.
and that it doesn't diminish their faith. In fact, the Tafsir suggests that doubt can be a catalyst for growth, leading us to seek a deeper understanding
Yeah.
and ultimately strengthening our faith.
It reminds us that faith isn't about blind acceptance or ignoring our questions,
Right.
but about engaging with those questions honestly and seeking answers through prayer, reflection,
Yeah.
and consultation with knowledgeable individuals.
And it encourages us to approach our faith with intellectual honesty.
Yeah.
And to be open to different perspectives.
Yeah.
It's not about suppressing our doubts,
Right.
but about confronting them head on
Yeah.
and using them as opportunities for growth and deeper understanding.
It's so refreshing to hear a religious text
I know.
acknowledge the complexities of faith
Yes.
and the reality of human doubt.
It makes the Quran feel more accessible and relatable.
It does.
It's a reminder that the Quran is speaking to us, to our hearts and minds.
Yeah.
And that it's meant to be a guide for us on our individual journeys of faith.
There's a passage in the Tafsir where it describes the physical vastness of like the heavens and the earth,
Oh, wow.
comparing the 7 heavens and everything they contain to a mere ring in the desert compared to the first sky.
That's mind-boggling.
It's a mind-boggling concept.
It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
The Tafsir uses this imagery to emphasize the immensity of creation and the limitations of our human understanding.
It reminds us that we're just a small part of a much larger universe.
We are.
Right.
Yeah.
And that our knowledge is finite compared to the infinite knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jalla.
It is a humbling thought, but it's also an awe-inspiring one.
Yeah, it is.
It encourages us to approach our faith with a sense of wonder and recognize that there's always more to learn and discover.
The Tafsir also delves into this concept of the Arsh and the Kursi,
Right.
which are often mentioned in the Quran, but can be so difficult to grasp conceptually.
It's a challenging topic.
Yeah.
But the Tafsir provides some insights that can help us understand these concepts in a more tangible way.
Yeah.
So it explains that the Arsh is like the highest point of creation, encompassing all that exists,
Okay.
while the Kursi represents Allah's Azza wa Jalla knowledge and authority over all things.
It's like trying to wrap our minds around the concept of infinity.
Exactly.
That's tough.
But the Tafsir reminds us that even though we may not be able to fully comprehend these concepts,
Right.
our faith doesn't require us to. It's enough to acknowledge Allah's power and majesty,
Yeah.
and to submit to his will.
It's about recognizing the limits of our human understanding.
Yes.
And embracing, like, the mystery and awe
Right.
that come with contemplating the divine.
Exactly.
I appreciate how the Tafsir addresses the issue of hypocrisy.
Oh, yeah.
It cautions against outward displays of piety that aren't accompanied by genuine inner transformation.
Right. It's a reminder that true faith goes beyond just mere ritual or outward appearances. It's about aligning our hearts and minds with the teachings of Islam.
Right.
And striving for genuine piety in our thoughts, our words, and our actions.
The Tafsir even describes a scenario where someone might utter words of truth without truly believing them,
Oh, wow.
and how that can become a proof against them on the Day of Judgment.
That's a sobering thought.
It is.
It highlights the importance of sincerity in our faith.
Yeah.
And the need for congruence between our beliefs and our actions.
It also emphasizes the role of the heart
Yes.
in our relationship with Allah, Azza wa Jalla.
It does.
True faith isn't just about intellectual assent.
Right.
It's about cultivating a heart that is filled with love, reverence, and submission to Allah, Azza wa Jalla.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that we need to be constantly evaluating our intentions and striving for purity in our motives.
Exactly.
I find the Tafsir's interpretation of the verse about consuming interest to be particularly insightful.
Oh, interesting.
It connects this seemingly economic issue to, like, a deeper spiritual malaise.
I see.
It's fascinating how the Tafsir draws a parallel between the state of someone consumed by interest and someone possessed by Satan.
Right.
It suggests that the pursuit of worldly gain can lead to a kind of spiritual madness that blinds us to the true value of things.
It's a reminder that our economic activities should be guided by ethical principles and a sense of justice.
Right.
The Tafsir warns against the pursuit of wealth at the expense of others and encourages us to seek a balance between our material needs and our spiritual aspirations.
It's about recognizing that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in our connection with Allah, Azza wa Jalla, and our commitment to living a life that is pleasing to Him.
Absolutely.
The Tafsir also emphasizes the importance of seeking Allah's, Azza wa Jalla, forgiveness and guidance when it comes to financial matters.
That's right.
It reminds us that we're not meant to navigate these complexities alone, but that we can turn to Allah, Azza wa Jalla, for help in making ethical and just financial decisions.
Yes, it's a reminder that our faith isn't compartmentalized, but that it should permeate every aspect of our lives, including our financial dealings.
And it encourages us to seek, like, a holistic understanding of Islam.
It does.
One that integrates our spiritual beliefs with our practical actions in the world.
Exactly.
I'm intrigued by the Tafsir's commentary on the verse about bequeathing provisions to widows.
Okay.
It delves into the specific details of Islamic inheritance law, which can be complex and often misunderstood.
It can be.
The Tafsir provides valuable insights into, like, the rationale behind these laws.
It does.
Emphasizing the importance of protecting the rights of widows and ensuring their financial security.
It's a reminder that Islam places great emphasis on social justice and the well-being of all members of society, particularly those who are vulnerable or in need of support.
And it encourages us to view Islamic law not as just a set of rigid rules, but as, like, a framework for creating a just and compassionate society.
That's a good point.
I'm curious about the Tafsir's interpretation of the verse, about lending to Allah, Azza wa Jalla, a goodly loan. It seems to connect this concept to the idea of supporting the imams.
That's an interesting interpretation. The Tafsir suggests that providing financial support to the imams is a way of investing in something that has eternal value.
It's a reminder that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in our connection with Allah, Azza wa Jalla, and our support for those who represent His guidance on earth.
It's a thought-provoking perspective that challenges us to consider how we use our resources and to prioritize investments that have lasting spiritual significance.
It also reminds us that supporting the imams isn't just a matter of financial contribution, but also of following their teachings and striving to live in accordance with their guidance.
It's about recognizing their role as spiritual leaders and committing to embodying their values in our own lives.
The Tafsir's commentary on the story of Talut and Goliath is both inspiring and insightful.
It is.
It highlights the importance of faith and trust in Allah, Azza wa Jalla, even in the face of these seemingly insurmountable challenges.
It's a reminder that victory doesn't always come through physical strength or numbers,
Right.
but through unwavering faith and reliance on Allah's Azza wa Jalla power.
The Tafseer uses the story to illustrate the idea that those who place their trust in Allah Azza wa Jalla will be granted victory,
Right.
even against overwhelming odds.
It's a powerful message of hope and encouragement.
It is.
Especially for those who are facing difficult trials.
Right.
Or feeling outnumbered in their struggles.
Yeah, it reminds us that we're never alone in our struggles.
We're not.
And that Allah Azza wa Jalla is always with those who strive for righteousness and justice.
He is.
The Tafseer also highlights the importance of patience and perseverance, using the verse, "And Allah's with the patient ones."
Yeah.
That's 2.249.
Yes.
To emphasize that victory often comes to those who are willing to endure hardship and remain steadfast in their faith.
It's a reminder that the path to righteousness isn't always easy.
It isn't.
And that we need to be prepared to face challenges and setbacks along the way.
Yeah.
But the Tafseer assures us that if we remain patient and persevere in our efforts, Allah Azza wa Jalla will ultimately grant us success.
I appreciate how the Tafseer addresses the issue of seeking signs from Allah Azza wa Jalla.
Okay.
It acknowledges that humans have this natural inclination to seek tangible evidence of the divine.
Right.
But it also cautions against becoming fixated on physical signs and neglecting the importance of inner transformation.
It reminds us that true faith isn't about seeking miracles or extraordinary experiences, but about cultivating a deep and abiding connection with Allah Azza wa Jalla
Right.
that manifests in our daily lives.
The Tafseer uses the example of Ibrahim, alayhi salam,
Right.
who asked Allah Azza wa Jalla to show him how he revives the dead. And while Allah Azza wa Jalla granted his request, the Tafseer emphasizes that Ibrahim's alayhi salam faith wasn't contingent on seeing this physical demonstration.
It wasn't.
His faith was already strong and unwavering,
It was.
and the signs served to further solidify his belief.
It did.
Right.
So it's a reminder that signs and miracles are meant to strengthen our faith,
Yeah.
not to be the foundation of our belief.
Right.
True faith comes from within, from a deep conviction and trust in Allah Azza wa Jalla.
Right.
That transcends the need for outward proof.
The Tafseer also highlights the importance of contemplation and reflection, suggesting that we can find signs of Allah's Azza wa Jalla power and wisdom in the natural world around us.
It's all around us.
It encourages us to observe the intricate workings of nature,
Right.
the beauty of creation, the order of the universe, and to recognize these as manifestations of Allah's Azza wa Jalla creative power and divine intelligence.
It's about cultivating a sense of awe and wonder at the marvels of creation.
Yeah.
And recognizing that these are not merely random occurrences, but reflections of a higher power at work.
I find the Tafseer's explanation of the verse about the winds to be quite fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
It delves into the different types of winds and their functions in the natural world, connecting this scientific understanding to like a deeper spiritual awareness.
It's amazing how the Tafseer weaves together scientific knowledge with spiritual insight.
I know, right?
It reminds us that the Quran isn't just a book of religious teachings, but a source of knowledge and wisdom that encompasses all aspects of creation, including the natural world.
The Tafseer explains that there are winds of mercy that bring rain and sustenance, winds that maintain the balance of the atmosphere, and winds that Allah Azza wa Jalla uses for specific purposes, as mentioned in the Quran.
It's a reminder that even like the seemingly mundane aspects of nature are governed by Allah's will and serve a purpose in his divine plan.
And it encourages us to view the natural world not just as a resource to be exploited, but as like a manifestation of Allah's Azza wa Jalla power and wisdom, worthy of our respect and appreciation.
Absolutely.
I'm struck by the Tafseer's definition of wisdom. In its commentary on verse 2.269. It goes beyond mere intellectual intelligence and connects it to the recognition of the Imams and the avoidance of major sins.
That's a profound definition.
It is.
It suggests that true wisdom isn't just about acquiring knowledge or intellectual prowess, but about aligning our lives with the guidance of those who represent divine wisdom and striving to avoid actions that lead us away from Allah.
Azza wa Jalla.
It's about integrating knowledge with action. and using our understanding to make choices.
That lead us closer to Allah, Azza wa Jalla.
Exactly. The Tafsir reminds us that recognizing the Imams is an essential part of attaining wisdom,
Yeah.
as they are the inheritors of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, knowledge,
Right.
and the guides to understanding the true meaning of the Quran.
And it highlights the importance of avoiding major sins,
Mm-hmm.
not just out of fear of punishment,
Right?
but out of a deep understanding
Yes.
of their detrimental effects on our spiritual well-being.
It's about recognizing that sin not only harms ourselves,
Mm.
but also damages our relationship with Allah, Azza wa Jalla,
Yeah.
and hinders our spiritual progress.
I'm finding the Tafsir's discussion of the different categories of verses in the Quran
Right.
to be quite helpful.
Yeah, it is helpful.
It acknowledges that not all verses are meant to be interpreted literally,
Mm.
and that understanding the context and purpose of each verse
Right.
is crucial for, proper interpretation.
That's a key point. The Tafsir distinguishes between mukam verses which are clear and straightforward in their meaning,
Okay.
and mutashabi verses,
Yeah.
which are allegorical or metaphorical
Right.
and require deeper interpretation.
So it's like having a guide to navigating the different layers of meaning
Yeah.
within the Quran.
The Tafsir emphasizes that even though we may not fully understand the meaning of certain verses,
Right.
our faith doesn't require us to have a complete understanding of everything.
Hmm.
It's enough to believe in the Quran as the word of Allah, Azza wa Jalla,
Right.
and to trust that its wisdom will be revealed to us
Yeah.
as we continue to study and reflect.
It's a reminder that the Quran is a vast and complex text
It is.
that can be studied for a lifetime,
Right.
and that there's always more to learn and discover.
Absolutely. And it encourages us to approach the Quran with humility
Yeah.
and a willingness to seek guidance from those who are more knowledgeable, like the Ahlul-Bayt.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the depth and complexity of Tafseer Hube Ali.
It's a fascinating text.
It's not just like a dry commentary on the Quran.
No, it's not.
It's like a treasure trove of insights that connect the Quranic text
Yeah.
to the lives of the Ahlul-Bayt,
Absolutely.
offering guidance and inspiration for navigating the challenges of our modern world.
It's a reminder that the Quran is a living text
Wow.
that continues to speak to us today,
Yeah.
offering guidance and wisdom for all aspects of our lives.
Right. And Tafseer Hube Ali, alayhi salam, acts as like a valuable key
It does.
to unlocking those deeper meanings and practical applications of the Quranic message.
It's been an incredible journey through the Tafsir.
It has.
We've covered so much ground
Yeah,
and explored so many fascinating concepts.
I know.
But I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
I agree.
There's always more to delve into.
Yeah.
But I think we've given our listener a good foundation
Yeah.
for understanding the Tafsir's perspective
Right.
on the relationship between the Quran and Imam Ali, alayhi salam.
And hopefully we've inspired them to continue exploring this rich and rewarding text on their own.
I hope so.
You know, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, the idea that's really stayed with me
Okay.
is that the Quran itself will complain on the Day of Judgment.
That's powerful.
It's such a powerful image.
It is.
It makes you really think about the choices we're making in this life.
It definitely challenges us to think about our responsibility
Yeah.
to the Quran and its message. If the Quran itself will be a witness
Right.
to how we understood and acted on it,
Yeah.
that raises the stakes considerably.
It's not just reciting the words or memorizing verses. It's about truly absorbing its teachings
Right.
and living by those principles.
And the Tafsir emphasizes that a key part of that understanding involves recognizing the role of Imam Ali, alayhi salam,
Yeah.
and the Ahlul-Bayt
Right.
as guides and interpreters of the Quran's message.
You're right. If we believe the Quran will be a witness, then we need to be sure we're understanding it correctly.
Exactly.
And the Tafsir argues that the Ahlul-Bayt, because of their close connection to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ
Right.
and their divinely bestowed knowledge, are the most reliable sources for that understanding.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the authority Allah Azza wa Jalla has given them
Right.
and trusting their guidance in navigating the complexities of the Quran.
I'm also struck by how the Tafsir stresses the importance of balance in our faith.
Okay.
It runs against both extremes,
Yeah.
neglecting the Quran's teachings and becoming too rigid or literal in how we interpret and apply those teachings.
It's about finding that middle ground between being complacent and being extreme.
Right.
Between ignoring the Quran's guidance and becoming so fixated on the letter of the law that we lose sight of its spirit.
The Tafseer uses fasting as an example to illustrate this.
Oh, right.
It reminds us that the purpose of fasting is to cultivate piety and get closer to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Not just to avoid food and drink.
It's about understanding the deeper reasons behind those rituals.
Right.
And trying to live by those principles in our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Even when we're not specifically engaging in the ritual.
So it's not just about following rules without thinking.
No.
But understanding why those rules exist.
Right.
And how they help us develop a stronger connection with Allah.
Yeah.
Azza wa Jalla.
And the Tafseer suggests that the Ahlul-Bayt, through their example and teachings, can guide us in finding that balance.
Right.
And practicing our faith in a way that is both meaningful and genuine.
One thing I really appreciate is how the Tafseer uses stories from the Quran to illustrate these complicated ideas.
Yeah.
Like the story of Nebuchadnezzar,
Right.
the king who was consumed by pride and arrogance.
That story is a powerful reminder
Is
of the dangers of arrogance and the importance of staying humble.
right.
The Tafseer uses it to show that even those with power and authority are ultimately accountable to Allah Azza wa Jalla. And that pride can lead to a person's downfall.
It's a lesson that's relevant for all of us.
It is.
Regardless of our status or position in life.
It doesn't matter who you are.
The Tafseer also stresses the importance of recognizing the signs of arrogance in ourselves.
Right.
And seeking Allah's Azza wa Jalla forgiveness and guidance when we fall short.
It reminds us that we're all susceptible to pride.
Yeah.
And that we need to be careful to guard against it.
It's a call for us to look inward.
It is.
And remember that spiritual growth requires constant effort and self-awareness.
As we bring this deep dive to a close, I keep coming back to that central idea of the Quran as a witness.
Right.
And how it will complain on the Day of Judgment.
It's a powerful image.
It is.
That makes you pause and think about the choices we're making in this life.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that our actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Not just in this world, but in the hereafter as well.
And the Quran itself will be there.
It will.
Bearing witness to our understanding and our choices.
It's a serious thought, but also a motivating one.
It is.
It encourages us to take our responsibility to the Quran seriously. Try to understand its message on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And to live our lives in alignment with its teachings.
And Tafseer Hube Ali, alayhi salam, by highlighting the connection between the Quran and Imam Ali, alayhi salam, gives us a framework for understanding the Quran's message.
It does.
In a way that is both intellectually stimulating and spiritually enriching.
It's an invitation to dive into the depths of the Quran.
Yeah.
Seek the guidance of the Ahlul-Bayt.
Right.
And begin a lifelong journey of learning, growth, and spiritual transformation.
This deep dive has truly opened my eyes.
I'm glad.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the Quran and its relationship to Imam Ali, alayhi salam.
It's been a pleasure exploring these concepts with you.
Likewise.
And I hope our listener has also found this deep dive to be both informative and inspiring.
I'm sure they have. It's certainly given me a lot to think about and reflect on. I'm looking forward to continuing to explore the Tafseer and uncovering more of its insights.
There's always more to learn.
That's so true.
And that's what makes studying Islam so rewarding. It's a journey that never ends.
Yeah.
A constant process of discovery and growth.
Right.
That brings us closer to Allah Azza wa Jalla and helps us understand his divine message more deeply.
That's a perfect way to put it.
I think so too.
And on that note,
yes,
I think we've come to the end of our deep dive.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much to our expert for sharing your insights and guiding us through this material.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listener.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us on this journey.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you'll join us again for our next exploration of fascinating Islamic concepts.
I'll be here.
Until then, may Allah Azza wa Jalla guide us all towards the right path.
O He, the wonders of whose mightiness will never end. Bless Muhammad and his household and prevent us from deviation concerning your mightiness. O He, the term of whose kingdom will never cease. Bless Muhammad and his household and release our necks from your vengeance. O He, the treasuries of whose mercy will never be exhausted. Bless Muhammad and his household and appoint for us a portion of your mercy. O he whom eyes fall short of seeing, bless Muhammad and his household and bring us close to your nearness. O he before whose greatness all great things are small, bless Muhammad and his household and give us honor with you. O he to whom all hidden tidings are manifest, bless Muhammad and his household and expose us not before you. O God, remove our need for the gifts of the givers through your gift. Spare us the loneliness of those who break off through your joining, that we may beseech no one along with your free giving, that we may feel lonely at no one's absence along with your bounty. O God, bless Muhammad and his household. Scheme for us, not against us. Devise to our benefit, not to our loss. Give the turn to prevail to us, not to others. O God, bless Muhammad and his household. Protect us from yourself. Safeguard us through yourself. Guide us to yourself, and take us not far from yourself. He whom you protect stays safe. He whom you guide knows, and he whom you bring near yourself takes the spoils. O God, bless Muhammad and his household, and spare us the cutting edge of time's turning changes, the evil of Satan's snares, and the bitterness of the sovereign's aggression. O God, the spared are spared only through the bounty of your strength, so bless Muhammad and his household and spare us. The givers give only through the bounty of your wealth, so bless Muhammad and his household and give to us. The guided are guided only by the light of your face, so bless Muhammad and his household and guide us. O God, he whom you befriend will not be injured by the abandonment of the abandoners. He to whom you give will not be diminished by the withholding of the withholders. He whom you guide will not be misled by the misguidance of the misguiders. So bless Muhammad and his household. Defend us from your servants through your might. Free us from need for other than you through your support, and make us travel the path of the truth through your right guidance. O God, bless Muhammad and his household, and put the soundness of our hearts into the remembrance of your mightiness, the idleness of our bodies into giving thanks for your favor, and the flow of our tongues into the description of your kindness. O God, bless Muhammad and his household, and make us one of your summoners who summon to you, your guiders who direct to you, and your special friends whom you have singled out, O most merciful of the merciful.